Good evening and welcome to our agenda briefing for this evening, the 11th of August 2025, here at the historic Kalgoorlie Town Hall. We begin at 6 p.m. this evening, and on behalf of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land in which we meet this evening. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. This is an ordinary council meeting agenda briefing, and please note that this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on the council's website in accordance with the city's public participation in council meeting policy, which can be viewed on council's website. There are no members in the gallery. I'll still continue to read the disclaimer, as all reasonable care is taken to maintain privacy. However, if a visitor does appear in the public gallery, presence may be recorded. Remaining in the public gallery, it's assumed consent is given if the image is broadcast. The recommendations contained in the agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until Council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. The resolutions of Council should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the Council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. Members of the public should also note that they act at their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notification of Council's decision. The purpose of an agenda briefing session is for councillors to ask questions and obtain additional information in respect to items presented on the ordinary council meeting agenda. Questions asked by councillors are to be answered by the CEO or a person nominated by the CEO and/or person presiding. No decisions are made at agenda briefing sessions, no statements are to be made, and there's to be no debate on items conducted. In attendance this evening we have the Deputy Mayor. Good evening to you, Deputy Mayor. Good evening down there, Councillor Bodica. Good evening, Councillor Winner. Hello, Councillor Johnson. Greetings, Councillor O'Donnell. Hello there, Councillor Brownlee. And hello, Councillor Viskovich. We have in attendance supporting the elected members this evening our CEO, Andrew Bryan. Good evening to you, Mr CEO, and to your staff tonight. Director of Governance and Organisational Strategy, Francis Liston. Mia Hicks, who is our Director of Advocacy and Strategy. Gian Rumboard, who is our Director of Finance, People and Culture. Melissa Murphy, good evening to you, Melissa. City and Community Director. Director of Corporate and Commercial is Cass Yeager. Welcome back. Director of Engineering, Louis Camporelli. We also are joined tonight by our Manager of Development and Growth, who's taken a seat at the back, Paul Lees. Good evening to you, Paul. Supported tonight by our Governance Officer, Jamie, and our IT Technical Systems Analyst, Gurav. Good evening. No visitors, as mentioned, no press. No apologies from elected members, no apologies from staff. We have Councillor Turner, who is on a leave of absence. I have got just the two notations of interest at this point in time. Councillors, you still have until next week to get those notations to me or to the staff. 8.1, the interest affecting impartiality. Councillor Bodica has an impartiality interest in item 15.6.4, the award of tender RFT 021. And that is in regards to the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder Security Services, as she uses one of the security companies for her own business. A financial interest has been declared in item 14.11, 14.12 and 17.11. That financial interest declaration has come from the CEO because the items are in relation to his employment, and I have received no proximity interests this evening. Councillors, we'll go to the items from committee, and first of all we have the reports of committee. Chief Executive Officer Review Committee from the 28th of July, as the CEO has declared the financial interest in himself, or not his interest in himself, but he's declared the financial interest himself in this particular matter. Councillors, do you wish to raise any questions in regards to this? Any questions will be answered by Francis Liston, who's the Director of Governance and Organisational Strategy. No questions? No worries. That's 14.11. For 14.12, the Churchill Fellowship and Tim Fisher Fellowship. No questions, councillors? I believe there was also... Apologies. I'm quite a big way through my agenda on my iPad, so I have to swipe quite considerably back just to make sure I've picked everything up, councillors. Thank you. 15.1, there's nothing from our Chief Executive Officer. 15.2, there's nothing from Governance and Organisational Strategy under committees. 15.3 is Finance, People and Culture. Welcoming him to present for the first time to Council, Director of Finance, People and Culture. We welcome our Director, Gian Rumbold, for this one. And also for the next one as well. Stand by, Director. We'll just wait for your mic to be on. There we go.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me? Yeah. The Council is asked to receive the June 2025 monthly statement of financial activity for the period of 1st of July to 2024 to June 30, 2025. Our income is under budget by 4.43% and expenditure is under budget of 1.49%. Is there any questions?
Thank you. Any questions, councillors, on the statement of financial activity for June, noting that there is the statistic there from the period 1st of July 2024 to the 30th of June 2025. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through to the Director. Yep. I just note in the report there was grant funding that is unspent. Due to contracted delays, what's the risk of any clawback for those grants from the budget?
The risk of clawback?
Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor. Most of the grant funding, as long as the works are underway, some of it has been programmed to be undertaken over 2 periods anyway, so that'll be fine. Anything where we've had to push the projects out into the new financial year, we've got approval to carry forward funding on those, so there shouldn't be any issues with any of those at this point. Thank you.
Any further questions, councillors? No. Director, we'll move on to 15.3.2, the accounts payable.
Yep. The Council is asked to receive a list of payments made from the Municipal and Trust Fund, including a summary report of our corporate credit card transactions and other purchasing cards incurred by authorized card holders. The total amount is $14,964,000.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors, on the accounts payable report? No. Thank you, Director.
Yep. No worries.
Item 15.4 under Advocacy and Strategy. 15.4.1 is the 2025 Kalgoorlie Desert Race sponsorship request. Our Director of Advocacy and Strategy is Mayor Hicks. Over to you, Director Hicks.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Good evening, Council. Council is asked to consider a $55,000 sponsorship to the Kalgoorlie Desert Race to support the delivery of the 2025 race from the 23rd to the 26th of October, subject to the organisers obtaining all necessary event approvals. The sponsorship, it should be noted to Council that the sponsorship was assessed under the previous sponsorship policy and guidelines, as the application was submitted prior to the 1st of July policy change to the Community Financial Support Policy and Handbook. And also, the event attracts over 10,000 attendees, generating significant tourism spend, and a large portion of the city sponsorship provides a free community street party, including motorcycle demonstrations.
Thank you, Director Hicks. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 questions. The first one is to the Director. What is the current sponsorship budget for the 2025-2026 financial year?
Thank you. I'll take that on notice.
Fantastic. The second question is, may also have to be on notice, what other sponsorship is already committed in value for the 2025-2026 financial year?
We'll take that on notice as well. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Brownlee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Hicks, is there any reason why there wasn't any letters of support just attached with the application for supporting documentation?
I will take that on notice, Councillor Brownlee.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through to the Director. The report states that KDR delivers substantial economic benefits. What evidence has been provided to support that claim?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The City assisted KDR in undertaking REM planning and spend mapping a few years ago just to demonstrate the economic value of the event. If you want further details, I can provide you with the outcomes of those reports. Yep, no worries.
Thank you. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just confirming that now that we've changed the policy, is there any concerns that we're judging from the previous policy to this one? So I think you said we were judging this application on the previous policy. Is there any concerns now that we've got not a new policy in place?
Director Hicks.
Could I ask a question back to the councillor? Yes, thank you. Seeking clarification on concerns.
If we haven't yet given the funds, I would have thought we would be going with the new policy, not the old policy.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. So in order for us to ensure equity, we stopped the old applications on the 1st of July. So everything that's submitted from the 1st of July onwards will need to be assessed under that policy because that's what Council resolved that the policy will commence. So I guess what we're providing to the community is just a little sort of pause or sort of a stopgap to assess previous applications.
Any further questions, councillors? No? Thank you, Director. Stay there. Item 1542, Kalgoorlie Mountain Bike Trail.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. We're requesting that Council approve entering into a $1.7 million funding agreement with the state government that's been secured through an election commitment to progress Phase 1 of the Kalgoorlie Mountain Bike Trail project. Phase 1 includes identifying and evaluating potential sites, developing concept designs with community consultation, and preparing detailed cost estimates to assess the feasibility and scope of the project. We're also asking Council to please approve a $100,000 budget amendment to cover the costs of Phase 1 works, noting that this would be funded through the $1.7 million election commitment. And note as well that a further report will be brought back to Council outlining the recommended site, concept designs, and detailed costings prior to commencing with Stage 2 of the project.
Thank you, Director. Questions? Councillor Johnson. To your microphone, please, Councillor Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Director, if there is a budget blowout, what is Council up for if there is a budget blowout? Because we do know that we have filled that breach a couple of times.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. So the state government funding is tied to the delivery of the mountain bike trail. If the project is deemed unfeasible, i.e. in relation to the costings that are assessed under Phase 1, we would seek Council's direction and input on next steps. So Phase 2 will be where we bring this back to Council and advise of the high-level costings and also seek guidance on next steps, whether that be budget or whether Council decides to go another direction.
Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
If there is a shortfall when it comes back and we can't proceed with it, we'll be reimbursed what we've already put in by the state government. And we will obviously not commit any of our own funds to this project, period. Would that be a fair assumption moving forward?
So first question that you asked was in relation to council municipal funds being used. Phase 1 of the project, which I'm asking Council for endorsement of, will not include any municipal funds. It will be drawn down from the $1.7 million election commitment. In relation to your second question, sorry, could you just repeat that for me?
I think it was along the lines of if it proves that it's not viable, we wouldn't be committing any funds to it with some public expectation. We wouldn't be taking on the state government's commitment and trying to finish it, because we've got to stack up with the same boat with.
And yes, thank you.
That's where we're coming from.
Thank you. So at this stage, Councillor, we're only entering into phase one of the project, and that has been discussed with the state government, and also with Ali Kent, who's the member for Kalgoorlie, that we'd like to do phase one. And then again, as I mentioned, we would need to seek council's direction and input after that phase has been completed, which we've included in the report as a sort of stop and consider.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Johnson, you've got the floor.
If we move into phase two and the budget moves out because of unknowns, who will be responsible for that move out, the unknowns? We're not committing any funds from the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder whatsoever. It's an election commitment.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. At this stage, the stage two costings are unknown, so we would need to go through this initial stage assessment to ascertain what those might look like to present back to council.
A point of clarification, that's fine. We've got a figure. We're going into phase two. We're going to develop it. During that development, it blows out for whatever reason. Where do we go then?
Councillor, I think we keep going around in circles here. The point is to enter into phase one before we actually even know what the costings are. And as soon as we know what the costings are, whether or not we proceed with the 1.7 million is probably the position that we'll find ourselves in after that initial stage. So if you've got any cost blowout to that, we haven't even got to that particular point as of putting a shovel in the ground or anything along those sorts of lines. So the scoping piece at the moment will set up what the budget is and to work within the confines of the budget. At this point in time, we can't answer any questions in relation to cost overruns because the project, from what I understand, will be designed to the scope. So if the scope comes back and says we've got 1.7 million, which we'll have 1.6 after 100,000 comes to us, then a project will need to be created that is $1.6 million. Does that answer all of your questions? Too easy. Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Under budget implications, we've got where site identification, concept design and cost estimations are estimated at $100,000 and a budget amendment is requested. So we have to take $100,000 out of our budget. Do we get reimbursed that $100,000 out of the 1.7 million? I don't know if that was answered. I got thrown.
I think that's been answered by the director, probably not as directly as that, but yes, out of that 1.7 million, $100,000 would be allocated to the city for those initial costs.
Thank you.
Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've just, much like Councillor O'Donnell, I'm a little bit confused on some of the question where it goes. So just to clarify, just through the director, if the project is found to be not feasible or has a price tag which would exceed the funded 1.7 million in funding that the city wasn't happy to go forward with, does council retain the ability to not advance with the project without having to pay back expenses relating to phase one by signing the funding agreement?
Oh, I'll take that one on notice and clarify that with the state government.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Mr CEO, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. One of the discussions we've had following the concerns of election commitments and not getting enough funding through, we have discussed the process. The reason for going through and doing the initial stage of this one is to confirm there is plenty of money available. So we have actually spoken to the local member and got that confirmed. That's the process we're going through. That money would then be used. If there's not sufficient funding to implement it, it would simply be a plan that's kept on the shelf until we actually find some additional funding from somewhere else. Or council resolves to fund any shortfall if they wanted to do that. No commitments in there to do it, and no requirement to repay that first 100,000 if we don't proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just follow up to the CEO. So based on that, Mr. CEO, most agreements, funding agreements, usually have a end date required to be completed by in it. If it's just sitting on a shelf, I'm not sure. We'll still have to acquit a grant. My question is just making sure that we don't have to pay back anything as an incomplete project. So often, a lot of funding agreements are linked to having to be completed in full.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor, certainly that's been the issue that we've been trying to explore with this one. We're unsure whether the 1.7 is going to be sufficient funding for it, which is why I've tried to separate it into two components. So we will have finished the first part and have that bit, but we will ensure that's written into the funding agreement.
Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you. Just a question on the running of the trail once it is up and going. Do we know an estimation of how much it will cost the city per year before we even spend any money on checking it?
Director.
So preliminary discussion suggests that maintenance and operational costs will depend on the design and scale of the trail, and a full lifestyle cost. I think a full life cycle cost estimate will need to be also provided to council after phase 1 as part of that assessment.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, just touching on that one. You mentioned that at the end of phase 1, a full life expectancy costing would be done. Could it not be done as part of stage 1 to give council a better understanding of what they're committing to in stage 2?
Yes, I believe it should be included in phase 1. Yeah.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Director. 15.5, corporate and commercial. Cass Yeager is our Director of Corporate and Commercial. Councillors, we have a new commercial lease agreement, 264 Hannon Street. Over to you, Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, the purpose of this report is for Council to consider a lease request for 264 Hannon Street from Hannah Evans, trading as Arkbrow & Co. The property has been leased to the Highbrow Bar since 2021, and they've provided notice of their termination. Hannah Evans proposes to take over the existing business operations under a new business name. The applicant and the city have agreed to a 2-year lease term with 3 one-year options. A third-party valuation has been undertaken with a rental figure of $26,251 per annum excluding GST. With a total leasable area of 129 square metres, this equates to $203.50 per square metre. A 3-month rent-free period will be applicable to this lease. Officers note that as the business is fairly new, there is limited financial history available, so the credit check has come back as medium. However, a letter of support has been provided from the applicant's current tenant, which officers are satisfied mitigates the any immediate financial risk. And in accordance with the requirements under Section 3.58 of the Local Government Act, the lease proposal was advertised via public notice with no submissions received.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, councillors? No? Thank you. Next item is 15.5.2, new commercial lease agreement 288 Hannon Street, Kalgoorlie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is for Council to consider a lease request for 288 Hannon Street from Marius and Wilmarie Mulder, trading as Kalgoorlie Jewellery Studio Proprietary Limited. They currently occupy 314 Hannon Street and would like to move to 288, which has become available and is considered by the applicants to better meet their operational needs. The applicant and the city have agreed to a 2-year lease term with 3 one-year options. The third-party valuation has come back with a rental figure of $17,820 per annum excluding GST. With a total leasable area of 81 square metres, this equates to $220 per square metre. The applicant has previously rented with the city and maintained consistent payment records. A 3-month rent-free period will be applicable to this lease, and in accordance with the requirements under Section 3.58 of the Act, the lease was advertised via public notice with no submissions received.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanting to confirm the difference in the rate per square meterage on the offices, the spaces being in the same location, is one in a better condition than the other?
Through the Mayor, they are different sizes, so they're downsizing from what they currently have. And each of the properties has different aspects that are taken into account, what's available in terms of fit out and such. So there are different considerations per property.
Any further questions, councillors? Nope. Thank you, Director. Item 15.5.3, MT Dance fee waiver request.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to note a request for a commercial fee reduction request for the 2025-26 financial year from MT Dance. Officers are unable to determine the request, and the request is therefore presented to Council. As part of the development of the 2025-26 fees and charges, officers undertook research to inform the fees for the dance studio at the GAC. As presented to Council and outlined in the report, there is no one-size-fits-all option. However, significant investigation was undertaken to introduce a weekly hire rate for the dance studio for hirers such as the applicant. City officers have been liaising with the applicant to address a number of the issues noted in their request, and officers recommend that the 2025-26 schedule of fees and charges apply to the applicant.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, councillors? Councillor O'Donnell. You couldn't decide.
Sorry, yeah, just one. The in the office recommendation, it doesn't put in there that charges, the schedule of fees and charges will apply from 1st July 25 onwards in accordance with our resolutions. What is the actual fee that they've asked for $5,000 a month? What will the schedule fee be based on our schedule of fees?
Director.
Through the Mayor, so in the budget implications table, it explains that the fee will vary depending on the usage, so it's a user pay models. So there may be exclusions if school holidays are not used, if other hirers have that space, so it'll vary and depend on how much they use. Officers sat down and worked through per semester what the likely charges could be based on maximum and minimum monthly usage, and that is outlined in the budget implications table.
So,
Go ahead.
Supplementary. So, again, what fee would we be looking at? Like a minimum, if they were going to get it at this, they'll be paying like $5,500 a month, or they're paying $9,000 a month is the maximum.
Through the Mayor, so the maximum hire fees for semester one would be $9,677 per month in semester one and $9,519 per month in semester two. With an average over the year of $9,598, which is outlined in page 54 of the report.
Yep.
Then looking at likely periods of non-use, this could potentially be reduced to $6,416 for semester one and $7,415 for semester two, which would average out at $6,916 per month over the year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you. Just with the comparison of the other two leases that we have coming forward to this meeting, is there a amount that we are charging that can be shown what the meterage per square metre is that we're charging on the GAC?
I can take that on notice, yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do apologise. I do have several questions, if that's fine.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you very much. The first question is, MT Dance, as per the officer's report, state their expected fee increase is a 55% increase on their annual fee. Would this be due to having received increased waived fees over the last 3 years and were being incorrectly provided with a not-for-profit discount previously when they were a commercial venture?
Through the Mayor, yes, MT Dance have received discounted fees for the last number of years due to historical charges, and those have been a further discount from the full commercial rates.
Thank you very much. The second question is, MT Dance was informed last year when a waiver was requested and accepted by council due to a breakdown in information process that fees would be increasing. Is this correct?
Yes.
Thank you. The next one is, the proposed weekly fee offers a significantly better rate than the hourly fee. Is this correct?
Through the Mayor, yes.
Thank you. The next one is, if MT Dance wish to change to a casual fee to reflect other users of the space, this would in fact be a far more expensive option. Is this correct?
Through the Mayor, I believe so, yes.
Thank you. Do other users or hirers of the site who are commercial in nature pay the same proposed rate as that offered to MT Dance?
Through the Mayor, we don't have any other commercial hirers of the dance studio, but if we did, they would be charged the full commercial rate.
It'd be the same across?
Yes.
Thank you. The next one is, we do not have a community organisation rate for commercial businesses, only for not-for-profits. Is this correct?
Through the Mayor, yes.
Thank you. While I'd imagine it would be significantly more expensive, is there any other options for MT Dance? Is there any option for MT Dance to become the exclusive users of the spaces?
Through the Mayor, because the property is owned by the Arts and Culture Trust, we're not able to give an exclusive lease for that studio.
Fantastic, thank you. The next one is, was city officers aware of the raised maintenance concerns and what actions are being taken?
In relation to the maintenance requests, the flooring, the officers have engaged with the Arts and Culture Trust, who've confirmed that they have it in their budget to replace the flooring. They're undergoing procurement at the moment. In addition, the city's technician is installing, or hopefully has installed, increased lighting at the city's cost for that dance studio. That would normally be an Arts and Culture Trust action, but we've undertaken to do that ourselves.
So we do face hold-ups due to the trust?
Yes,
Yep.
yes, liaising with the trust, getting their approval and for it to fall within their budget.
Fantastic. And my last question, and thank you for answering them all in the way that you have, was just confirming that since 2022, the applicant has received approximately $194,000 in discounts as a commercial entity.
Through the Mayor, yes, so those figures are based on the monthly charges. An approximation, depending on, they may have been a bit less in December, but that's what the charges were per month.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Any further questions? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just wanted to clarify, the discounts that MT Dance have received were also partially due to incorrect advice that they were advised as well?
Through the Mayor, yes, through an error in calculation fees.
Any further questions? One from me, Director. When you did your research on other locations, did you took into account a square metre cost or what those costs were? Are you aware of any organisations who were using those particular spaces who also received a discount on top of what their square meterage was?
Through the Mayor, the research that we undertook, sorry, I stand this side, there wasn't any consistent criteria across those facilities. So some had significant state government funding, so they were able to charge a lesser fee. Some don't allow hire after 5 p.m, so they wouldn't be able to fit MT Dancers' needs. So there was a lot of different aspects. The majority don't have a weekly hire fee, so we weren't able to judge off what that is because that isn't generally offered. So there was a number of considerations that were identified.
But from those other locations, external, I think there were regional ones that you looked at.
Yes.
Were any waivers or discounts given to community groups or organisations who use those spaces on top of the rate that was provided?
I'll take that on notice and confirm that. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillors, the next item is 1554, the fire hydrant and booster pump, Kalgoorlie-Boulder Airport.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to request a budget amendment to increase the transfer from the aerodrome reserve in the 2025-26 budget by $170,000 to replace the non-compliant and failing fire booster pump system at the airport. The current system is 34 years old, and it's recently been identified that several components of the fire pump require immediate replacement. In addition, the system does not meet current Australian standards and therefore requires replacing. It is recommended that the additional transfer from the aerodrome be approved to fund the replacement of the system, noting there is a 14-week lead time once an order is placed.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? No? Councillor Winner, just get you to turn your mic off for us, please. Thank you. Nothing else? Thank you, Director. One final one. Your report, 1555, 2025 Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly Conference Report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to note the outcomes of the 2025 Australian Local Government Association Conference and the National General Assembly.
Councillors, any questions? Director,
Yes.
as an officer attending this particular event, how did you find it?
Through the Mayor, I found a lot of the presentations quite interesting from a regional lens. There's particularly in the AI space, it was really interesting for my position. So I really enjoyed being able to attend and bringing some things back to my team.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? No? Well done. Thank you, Director. Item 15.6 is engineering. 15.6.1, the Goldfields Arts Centre Pavilion Award of Tender. Director of Engineering, Louis Camporelli.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through yourself. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider submissions received for tender number RFT 015-2425 Goldfields Arts Centre Community Event Pavilion and award the tender. The project was originally tendered in October 2024 with 2 submissions and closed in November 24. Once those submissions were received and considered, they were brought to Council on the 16th of December 24, and Council did not award the tender. A design review was then undertaken, and we re-advertised the tender on the 21st of June 2025 to have all tenderers address details of similar work, demonstrated experience in projects, scope of respondents' involvement, including details on outcomes, details of issues that arose during projects, and demonstrated competency. The tender closed on the 28th of July 2025, and the City received 5 submissions. Of those submissions, all met the minimum criteria. And the panel, after considering all 5 submissions, recommends that Council award the tender to tenderer D for the following reasons. The tenderer submission was evaluated at the highest scoring submission. 2, the tenderer had indicated they can undertake the works in a required timeframe. 3, the tenderer has demonstrated a good understanding of this project's requirements. So the recommendation from the panel is to award to tenderer D, and also reallocate $1 million at mid-year review, as there is currently no contingency with this project, and the cost of the project would go over the original $10.8 million.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, questions? Councillor Brownlee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director, the recommendation is that Council award the tender to tenderer D or C? I'm just reading here on page...
Tenderer D.
Oh, okay, no worries. Just on page 90, it's saying that Council, the recommendation is that Council award the tender to tenderer C.
I think you've got the wrong page there, Councillor Brownlee. You're on page 75.
75?
Yep.
Take that back.
Any questions, councillors? Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, thank you, Director. The graphic that we have up there, the proposed, does that suit the height requirements required by, I imagine the main user will be diggers and dealers, because that is a particularly high roof. Question 1, does that suit, does it fit in? And how much of this car park will be losing when we have a structure like this up? And how often will that car park be in use throughout the year, do you imagine, going forward?
Director.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson, the roof height is has been designed to fit in with next door in the arts centre, and approved by the Arts and Culture Trust. The height of the roof is a similar height to what's already been erected annually for diggers and dealers. In relation to the car park would be in use for the whole year, apart from when any event would be held. And the intent would be that although diggers and dealers would be using this for their 1 week a year, it would reduce the amount of time they would need for setup, so the car park would actually be available for a longer period of time comparative to what they use now.
Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to clarify if the local tenderer that we're potentially voting on is local? Sorry, let me rephrase that.
Yep.
Is the tenderer you are advising to accept local? That's local again.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, certainly there was a local tenderer who put in for the proposal. That's a decision Council needs to make next week, so probably can't answer that tonight. I understand where you're going from, but there certainly was a local tenderer within those 5 tenders, but it's Council's decision for next week, so we can't preempt that decision.
Can we confirm if the tenderers who is local, with obviously outside of?
Through Mr. Mayor, certainly we can provide that information to councillors on a confidential basis outside the process.
Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, I do have several questions. Director, what risks or contingency planning has been carried out or are in place if the project runs longer than 12 months? And is there any risk or impact on diggers and dealers from taking place on the site without disruption?
Thank you. So the panel considered that when considering all 5 of the tenderers. The tenderer that was chosen or recommended would fit in well within the time period and would give adequate amount of time should they go over.
So do we have risk or contingency planning measures in place, or has it been completed yet?
Hasn't been completed yet.
Okay.
Follow up from the CEO, Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, through the Mayor. We have worked very closely with diggers and dealers on this process as well, given that they are the key user in terms of that site for their annual event. They've been extensively involved through both the design process and the understanding of the assessment. So they're aware of it. We will now work, once council makes a decision, we will finalise any contingency planning around that. We're starting to look for alternate locations in the event something did go wrong, and we will continue to work with them to ensure that the event can go ahead next year.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Do we have a signed agreement that if diggers and dealers was to go to another site that they would return back to this site, or is there a risk that potentially they might decide the other site that they potentially move to might be a better location? So do we have any assurances in place that the event would return to that site?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. At this point in time, we don't have any signed agreement with them. It is a community facility. It's not just being built for diggers, obviously. So parts of the funding agreement we received from lotteries as well as the BHP funding is about a community facility. They're one user of it. They've given an indication, though, this is their preferred location, given the fact that they need the arts centre as well. So we will continue to progress that, and we will have a formal agreement with them as we move forward into it. That's to help offset with some of the funding as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Next question through to the Director is, did all applicants know they could propose alternative materials as outlined in Tender D's proposal, which may have contributed to their proposed selection?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, they did. All applicants were made aware that there was alternates they could provide.
Wonderful. Thank you. The next one is, given there is a request for an additional $1 million in funding for this project, what is the total proposed budget of this project at the moment?
$11.8 million.
Thank you very much. The next one is, where is the additional $1 million budget line item that is being requested expected to come out of, given the slim expected budget surplus?
Hasn't been sorted yet. That'll be decided at mid-year review, and what hasn't been delivered and what can be cut, or where we can find the extra funding at mid-year.
Okay. And my final question is, when applicants are being assessed for relevant experience, does this include local experience?
Regional experience has been taken into account.
Not local, just regional?
Regional.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Director, from a design aspect, I think Councillor Johnson mentioned in terms of height, but in terms of materials and the construction of this, were we given direction from Arts and Culture Trust on that particular aspect of this design and not just a city architect-led design?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through yourself, yes, that's correct. So Arts and Culture Trust had the last say on the design to fit in with next door.
And further to that, the construction of this particular pavilion, while it may look like it is a large shed, there's an aspect, I gather, you'll be able to confirm, that the engineering that's gone into this particular development will be a lot stronger than an ordinary shed to house, as Councillor Johnson said, the infrastructure required for big events.
That is also correct. The intent is that you'll be able to hang as required from the roof, lighting, sound, and possibly air conditioning if required.
No further questions? Councillor Brownlee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not sure if this was already asked, but I'm just reading here in the budget implications, given that the amount is above the allocated budget and additional funds will need to be sourced, do we know where those additional funding sources Do we know what that may be or what that looks like right now, Mr. Director?
I think Councillor Brownlee, the Director's already answered that. It'll come up as part of the mid-year budget when we look at projects that have been delivered, haven't been delivered, and the staff will do a review of that and present back
Thank
to
you, Mr.
Council.
Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Boddicker, do you have a question? Can you just turn your mic, please, Councillor? Can you reach? You got it?
Lean across. I was just going to ask, when was the last time that we actually reviewed our policy on tenders for local businesses applying for a tender? And what is the process? Do we actually go out and, do we just advertise it, or do we go out and speak to local tenderers who may be able to do that job? Because
Director?
my preference is
Yep.
local. Yeah.
Thank you. We do advertise the local tender during that. I think it's 10%. Also, tomorrow morning, we're currently having a future projects gathering at the Arts Centre. There is currently 45 companies signed up to be presented to by the engineering department of our current and future projects for next year, and those that are in the pipeline as well.
Thank you, Director. Item 15.6.2, Speedway upgrades.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council is asked to grant delegated authority to the CEO in accordance with Section 5.42 of the Local Government Act 1995 to award a tender to upgrade the Kalgoorlie International Speedway. And some background to this, in 2017, an election commitment by the then Labor government was made to improve motorsport facilities within the Kalgoorlie-Boulder region, and the commitment was $2 million. It didn't identify any facilities at that time, and so to assist what was then the Department of Local Government, Sports and Cultural Industries, which is now Department of Creative Industries, Tourism and Sport, and understand which facilities are greatest in their improvement, a condition assessment and a needs feasibility study on the motorsport precincts within Kalgoorlie-Boulder was completed. Although initially reluctant to take on the responsibility of the $2 million commitment, in mid-2022, the City agreed to manage the project and administer the commitment of the remaining $1.95 million. And in liaison with DSITs, the City has identified and prioritised works at the Kalgoorlie International Speedway, which is one of the City's own sites. So the extent of the proposed works is subject to funding and subject to what comes back with the current tender out for the fence. And so it's speedway track fence, one female toilet block, one male and female toilet block, and one male portable toilet block. As the tender will close and the council will be in caretaker mode, the council will not be able to consider the tender, and hence we've asked to delegate the authority to the CEO for the tender process. As the money is not the city money and it's state money, we see that as hopefully a win and keep the project going. The intent is to have the fence completed by February 2026, ready for the speedway season.
Thank you, Director. Questions, councillors? Councillor Johnson?
Just the same as the last election commitment. There'll be a preliminary and that'll come back to the CEO, I imagine, if it's pointed across. Those elected members that are not, a question I suppose to the CEO, not up for election this year, will they be advised of what will be going on in that space as it is an election commitment? And secondly, if it doesn't get to the point where there isn't enough money there, we work through and we will not allocate any other funds from the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder whatsoever in this project.
Mr. CEO?
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor. A couple of points there. The first one, in terms of providing an update to Council, all tenders awarded under delegation are reported back to Council, so I have to do that component anyway. So that will come back through. There's no Council funds going into this, apart from officers' time to do the assessments, etc. The rest of it is grant funded. We won't approve any funding over the 1.95.
Any further questions? Thank you, Director. 15.6.3, 10-year park strategy and 10-year playground replacement program.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council is asked to approve the future Kalgoorlie-Boulder Park strategy and 10-year playground replacement program. This strategy outlines the required investments, planning considerations to ensure that community play spaces are safe, inclusive, engaging and sustainable into the future. The intent of the strategy is to adopt a hierarchical model for its parks and playgrounds, which has the following: regional parks, district parks, neighbourhood parks and local parks. In addition to this, the 10-year playground replacement strategy, the city has a network of public playgrounds, many of which have reached or reaching the end of their useful life. Condition ratings and safety audits and compliance checks have identified priority sites for renewal. The works proposed for this financial year are prioritised based on safety, compliance and Australian standards, community demand and equitable distribution across all suburbs. A structured site-specific replacement program has been developed, budgeting for renewal based on asset lifespan and condition. The program includes only like-for-like replacement of equipment and does not cover ancillaries like shades and fencing. The 10-year plan is intended to replace each playground within the city over a 10-year period.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, elected members? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've got a couple. Director, just if we're replacing the like for like, are we locking ourselves into the same designs or will there be room to adapt to add the new features and community needs over the next 10 years?
Thank you, and through yourself, Mr Mayor. Yes, the intent was not to have like for like, it's just for budgeting. The intent would be to go out to the community when we're looking at playgrounds and see what currently fits and fits into the park strategy as well. So,
thank you. So just also with the playgrounds, are we able to include inclusive play equipment to playgrounds that didn't have them there? Does that mean that we can actually change the design on each of them? It's not.
Yep, through the new park strategy, the intent is to have more inclusive use of equipment. So go away from the playgrounds that have been built for the last 20 years and look at playgrounds that better fit in with the strategy, that are more inclusive, that covers not only the able body, but the unable body as well.
Can I ask how many playgrounds do we currently have that have the all-inclusive equipment?
I'd take it on notice. I think there's 4, but I'll take it on notice.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It says under there for the district parks and the neighbourhood parks, there's shade structures for the play space and senior areas. Does that mean the shade will cover all the activity that the kids play on?
Councillor O'Donnell, it would be depending on the design. So it would depend on the space, the trees currently in situ, and the design of the playground. So some would, and some would have trees that are covering that space.
Supplementary. And yes, under local parks, I see that there's natural shade. All the streets there's one there, Barry Stevens Park. Is that Carrington Street?
That is correct.
Oh. Yeah, that one doesn't have natural shade there. So would that end up getting shade? Even though it comes under a local park, it's a little one?
We would have, when we came to that park, we would have to look at it and see whether it fit into budget and was required for the amount of use. So to give you some further information on that, the assets team would do an asset assessment of how many people are using those parks prior to us going out to design.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Director, with just over, I believe, 50 parks and playgrounds within the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, do we have too many or not enough?
Loaded question for you, Director.
That is a very good question, Councillor Winner. The assets team, until they do the full assessment and usage, would be able to tell us better. So I guess I'd take it on notice, but it might take us a little while to come back to you to let you know exactly.
Any further questions, councillors? Director, you've been with the city for quite some time. Have we previously had a park strategy or a playground replacement program such as this in place?
We have previously had a park strategy, but nothing that tied to a playground replacement program like this that committed to upgrading each playground over the next 10 years.
Thank you. No further questions? Item 1564, the award of RFT 021. That is the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder Security Services.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council is asked to consider submissions received for tender T021 2425 City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder Security Services and award the tender to tenderer C. The City owns and manages properties that have a requirement for the provision of a uniform security service for these properties. The City requires a contractor for the provision of security services in and around specified properties which are owned and managed by the City. The service includes the following: vehicle and foot patrols at specified times and periods, alarm responses, opening and closing of gates, checking of toilets and emptying, emergency call-outs, maintenance and repairs to alarm systems. The City's current security contract expires on the 31st of August 2025, and a new contract is to be entered into for 2 years with a 3-year optional extension in 12-month increments.
Thank you, Director. Also noting an impartiality interest from Councillor Bodica on this one. Any questions, elected members? Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, just in regard to the tender document, the attachment, it's got ranking 3, 2, 1. Is 3 at the bottom, the lowest ranked one, and is 1 the preferred tenderer?
Tenderer C is the preferred tenderer.
So therefore 1 being the highest and 3 being the lowest.
That's right. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, just in regards to this, is there a KPI attached to this for the winning tenderer? Were they all advised of what the KPIs would be that the city expectations are?
That formed part of the tender documentation of the requirements of the tender. So, yeah.
Councillor O'Donnell, you've left your microphone on. Do you have any further questions? No, that's fine. Any further questions, elected members? No. Thank you, Director. Item 15.7, City and Community, a development application for a school oval, Lot 12, 55 Lionel Street, South Kalgoorlie. Paul Lees is the Manager of Development and Growth to present to you tonight, councillors.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. All right, Council is asked to approve the development of a school oval associated with John Paul College at 55 Lionel Street, South Kalgoorlie. The proposal is to develop the oval on the old drive-in site on the opposite side of Lionel Street from the college and to reserve excess land for future staff accommodation. The proposal also includes 2 water storage tanks, associated safety barriers and netting, perimeter fencing and gates, and a 30 square metre maintenance shed. The application also requests Council's endorsement for the removal of parking and public access easements registered on the title. These easements are associated with a previous commercial centre development, Southland Shopping Centre, that did not proceed. The easement arrangements formalise the movement of vehicles across and within the site, including the circulation of vehicles along the rear of the proposed commercial centre to the existing cinema site and to the proposed big box retail development, now Harvey Norman. All current owners of land within the precinct have rights under the easement arrangement. The requirement for the easement to also be in favour of the city's approval is obtained in regard to the lifting of the easements. It should be noted that an objection to the lifting of the easements, the city has received legal advice confirming that the applicant has the right to seek the approval of the Supreme Court for the lifting of the easements, should all owners not agree. This matter does not hinder Council determining the development application. As the detailed design of the proposed pedestrian crossing is not finalised to the satisfaction of the city's consultant traffic engineer. A condition has been included for the crossing to be designed to Main Roads WA standard and implemented to the satisfaction of the city. It is recommended the application be approved with the conditions as proposed.
Thank you, Manager. Any questions, elected members? Councillor Winner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just the one question. The crossing, obviously to connect the two schools, the proposed crossing, that's at the applicant's expense, is that correct?
Through the Mayor, that's correct.
Thank you. Any further questions? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, through to the Director. At the moment, that said block is being used as an unofficial car park for parents collecting students. What has the applicant put in place as a contingency in lieu of that parking now being unavailable?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And through the Mayor, yes, the school is aware of that. And obviously, when the site is fenced, if approved, and development consent commences, they know that they will have to communicate with parents and ensure that doesn't happen. They will provide some space within the school itself.
Thank you. Councillor Bodica?
I was just going to ask, that's a very, very busy area of town because we've got a really big school population between all of the schools there. Have we done a road safety, to see how many cars are coming through, to see what's happening with congestion, cars pulling in and out of the school, all that sort of stuff? Has that all been previously done, or do we do that, or does the applicant do that?
Okay. Through the Mayor, thank you, Councillor. The proposal itself actually won't generate any traffic. There'll be pedestrian crossing, pedestrian movements across to the oval, and therefore the design and function of the pedestrian crossing in that actual environment in terms of the speed environment and the amount of traffic is really important. They did provide a design, but the peer review of it basically found that it needed more work, and our traffic engineer advised that it's able to be conditioned to a satisfactory result. Because it doesn't in itself generate any further traffic, the actual traffic within that environment cannot be considered as part of the application. The actual proposal does not generate traffic itself. At the time they proceed, should they do with staff housing on the remainder of the site, obviously the traffic impacts of that will need to be considered.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson?
Yes, thank you. Just in regards to what you've just said in regard, that doesn't generate any future traffic at all. It generates pedestrian traffic transitioning from one side to the other. So I imagine there will be calming things put in place. Would one of those be, do we call it pelican stop lighting? Or is it just a man lighting, or is it a free-for-all for the people to get across? Has that been considered as something, because it wouldn't be a good look, because that's a very busy transitional road that I believe is a 50 or a 60 zoned road.
60 kilometres.
So is that then going to be affected?
Thanks, Councillor Johnson. It is a 60-kilometre road. Just to clarify with the manager, is that covered under point 12 of the recommendation regarding the design to Main Roads WA requirements?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Bodica, turn your mic.
The 60k zone, isn't it a 40 around?
40 during school hours.
Or during school hours?
Yep.
Okay.
Any further questions? Sorry, you alluded to the parking, Manager, in regards to the current parking, and the school was looking to the parking situation within their current site, noting that they have current parking on site. Were they looking to increase that with the change of design to their existing site in the future?
Yes, back through yourself, Mr. Mayor. They are looking to better manage it on site to ensure people can drop off.
Just I suppose to clarify, if I may, through you on the crossing, there's a Pelican crossing, there's a Wombat crossing, there's lights, there's multiple crossings, and the applicant thought they'd made a pretty good go of it, but our consultant looked at it and basically said there's actually quite a lot to it, to assessing it, and of course traffic speed, traffic environment, volumes, sight lines, both for vehicle drivers and for people crossing. It's very complex, and we had it peer reviewed, and we believe the conditions now with having to go back through our traffic engineer will ensure that it's absolutely the right, in terms of specs, the right crossing for that location.
Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. One final one. Point 16 is that the oval should only be used by staff and students at John Paul College for school-related activities. Any other use requires prior approval to the city. Are you able to explain a little bit more in terms of the rationale behind this condition being placed onto the applicant?
Thank you. Through the Mayor. It goes to a couple of things. Pardon me. It goes to the generation of noise and the periods of play, and the objections around the fact that, you know, how it's going to be used. Issues around security. Obviously, if the school's managing it, there's pupils there, there's teachers there, and it's being managed appropriate. When it's vacated, the gates are closed. It also goes to the issue of traffic generation and parking. So if it was to be used by others, I would imagine that people would be trying to park all over the place to access it, and that's the very thing that's been mentioned here as a concern appropriately. So right now it's a package that is contained, and the only impacts is obviously the movement of school activities across the street, and also the management of, as I said, of traffic and pedestrian movements.
Councillor Winner?
Supplementary. Thank you for that. My only concern is in regards to, would this be limiting on the applicant in regards to parents' engagement in sporting activities, whether as a parent, student, teacher race, or with spectators potentially attending for different events?
Through the Mayor, I think the in our view, the condition was broad enough that it allowed the school to manage events that were school events. Whatever those range of events are that the school runs for pupils and parents is up to them, I think. We haven't gone into that.
Sorry, the wording is very descriptive that it can only be used for staff and students of John Paul College. I wasn't sure if, did I miss a spot somewhere else potentially within the conditions that allows that engagement with anyone other than a student or a teacher? My only concern is it's very descriptive in there, so it doesn't provide a lot of wiggle room.
Through the Mayor, they haven't asked for any other use.
Thank you. Thank you, Manager. Item 1572 is change of use to tourist development, lot 8736 Brookman Street, Kalgoorlie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through yourself. Council is asked to approve development application for a change of use from office residential to tourist development within a city heritage listed building at 36 Brookman Street. It is proposed to accommodate 20 guests on the upper and ground floor within individual rooms, and to relocate the caretaker accommodation to the ground floor. The building has undergone restoration, the addition of an upper level veranda. There are 10 parking bays at the rear of the site and 2 bays adjacent to the building to the right when viewed from the street. Clause 37.3 of the scheme states that for heritage protected properties, no additional on-site parking spaces are needed for a change of use. However, officers have assessed the proposal against the parking requirements of the scheme. Tourism accommodation subcategory backpackers requires 1 parking bay for every 6 beds and 1 bay per staff member. Therefore, under the provisions, the proposed development requires 3.3, well, we call that 4 parking bays for backpackers and 2 bays for staff. A total of 12 parking bays is available within the site. Also, a condition is included requiring 5 bicycle parking bays. That's consistent with the scheme. Due to the separation distance from other land uses and the presence of a staff member 24/7, it is considered that the proposed use will not create any unreasonable noise impacts on surrounding areas. The proposal will bring additional people into the Kalgoorlie town centre and will benefit the nighttime economy. It is recommended the application be approved with conditions.
Thank you, Manager. Any questions, elected members? Couple from me, please, Manager. Item 1 is, can I please get an updated copy of the floor plans? It's very hard to read those from the electronic version, even by zooming in. If that's possible, please. I also note that if this is going to be, as indicated throughout the report, a backpacker accommodation, there's no reception area. So is that what the intended use is, a backpacker accommodation?
Through yourself, that is what the application has been for, and we've taken that on face value.
Sure. And I do have several other questions that I'll send through to you in regards to the matter as well. So thank you. Councillor Bodica.
Through the Mayor, with this one, Mr Lees, this building's very close to where my actual business is. There's not a lot of parking in that area. A lot of people that actually work in town are parking along some of those spaces because they have nowhere else to park. So how many parking bays are you saying that you're looking at putting in there? Was within the development? Because that's actually a very congested area too. And it's not far from the roundabout, which is on the main street there too.
Through the Mayor, as I've said in what I've provided here tonight, there's 12 spaces, and that's more than adequate for the proposal in terms of the scheme requirements. Yes, it's 10 through the Mayor, it's 10 at the back and 2 on the front. As I said, heritage building actually doesn't require for a change of use additional parking, but in this case they've got enough.
Further questions, councillors? No? Thank you, Mr Lees. Item 15.7.3, amendment to the existing workforce accommodation lot 3874 Hopkins Street in South Boulder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through yourself. Council is asked to approve an application to amend the existing workforce accommodation development at lot 3874 Hopkins Street, South Boulder. The applicant proposes to install the following facilities to support workers residing at the facility: 120 square metre permanent open-sided marquee for a gym measuring 8 by 15 metres and 4 20-metre shade sails. The applicant is also requesting retrospective approval. In other words, the work's already been done for a generator for backup power, an associated noise attenuation wall that's to attenuate noise from that generator, and a self-bunded fuel cell, 2,700 litres. The shade structures enhance the living environment of the facility, and the backup generator and bundled fuel tank is essential for continued operation of the facility during power outages. Again, it's recommended the application be approved with conditions. Now, just noting that the conditions include the requirement for the preparation of a risk management plan. That's to do with the operation of that generator and emergency evacuation plan in the event of an emergency.
Thank you, Mr Lees. Questions? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Could you indicate, or do you know why these weren't initially in the original application?
Yes, through the Mayor. I can't speak for the applicant in this regard. I expect that the generator was put in, was an after. Well, sorry, I can't see it could be an afterthought, but it was a requirement, and they realised they needed approval for it. On a couple of matters, the city, in inspecting it for an occupancy permit, had actually noticed that there was some extra development there and asked them to lodge an application, which they have.
Further questions? Thank you, Mr. Lees. 1574 is the amendment to the existing workforce accommodation, lot 72, 160 Vivian Street in South Boulder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is similar but different. Again, there are two parts of this application. The application includes a new bin storage area containing 5 bins, 5 20 square metre shade sails, noise attenuation wall, and the use of a portion of Vivian Street for goods delivery and vehicle manoeuvring, now that being the forklift. They've asked for retrospective approval, again for a generator in this case, a self-bundled fuel cell and 3 40-foot fridge freezer sea container units. Whilst it could be argued that the refrigeration units have a specific purpose relating to food preservation, it should be noted that the city's container policy allows for 3 containers per site on light industry zoned land. There are only 3 containers on the site. A traffic management plan has been lodged with the application demonstrating that the loading and unloading can be conducted safely on Vivian Street. Again, it's recommended the application be approved. With the requirement for a risk management plan and an emergency evacuation plan.
Thank you, Mr. Lees. Any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Director Lees. Just wondering if the proponent has indicated whether they will be, I suppose, contributing to the maintenance of Vivian Street, or the upgrade being that they will be the user and require that as part of their building.
Thank you. And through the Mayor, our city engineers and road managers have looked at the site. They haven't had any concerns with pavement damage through the forklifts. They're only offloading pallets. There's no, it's not like an industrial site where they're offloading containers and other heavy materials, and they're quite happy with that.
Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, and just the excessive turning on the road and the surface in that space, will that not cause excessive damage to that cul-de-sac?
Through the Mayor. The vehicle movements for the forklift are similar to what you'd find on any street. You know, the forklift is rear turning wheels and will offload, I would say, probably on the curb side and then spin around and be offloaded again on the other side, on the curb side. Vehicle turning on any road which is a dead end can potentially cause issues if it's not managed properly and there's not adequate room for that turning, you know, through the skewing of wheels. I think the trucks that are delivering for this are only 6-wheelers, so they only have a single front turning axle. But again, the engineers have looked at it and don't believe there's been any issues in terms of excessive pavement wear. I'm looking at our Director of Engineering to see if he's got anything to add.
Any further questions? Does the site have a liquor licence? Does the site have a liquor licence?
I can't recall. I don't think so, but it may do.
Okay, thank you. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Lees, this evening.
Thank you.
We do have 2 confidential items, councillors, to discuss this evening, which we will take a pause in our broadcast for and return following that. We have 2 items to consider as part of our confidential piece for next week's meeting, and they have been discussed and questions asked by elected members in regards to those 2 items. Our ordinary council meeting will be at 7 p.m. at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall on the 18th of August 2025. That concludes our agenda briefing at 7:29 p.m. tonight. Thank you very much.